Hello, just refreshing the web page now to check if there's anybody in the stream. Reconnect. Well, I cannot see the chat. That's the problem. Otherwise, we could start. But I cannot see the chat. And I've set up two streams. So in case one of them goes wrong, I can go to the other one. But because I'm not very good at doing this, both of them are now not working. So you see here, hold on, let me open this. You see here, your chat needs to be here, and I cannot see any chat over there. So I'm gonna have to close it and come back to it again. But here I can see that there is no other participants, if that is correct. Obviously it might be my system. So I'm gonna close and come back. I'm connected. So now out of the two streams, only one of them is working, the second one is not working. That's the problem with technology, and you always need to have a backup plan. Since there is no participant here, there's nobody joining us for the coffee session today. I'm just going to be talking in general about for 15 minutes, and then if nobody joins, I'm going to leave. But I'm going to give you 15 minutes chance to be late and ask me any questions. Just as a reminder, this is a live stream for students that are writing their dissertation, not necessarily for Oxford, because with Oxford we have a lot of internal discussions. And with this one, I wanted to give people a chance to ask silly questions. So you see here in the chat, you don't have to log in as your real name with your real name. You can be a unicorn and you can come and ask me whatever question comes to your mind about how to write your master dissertation. Now, since there's nobody here, where do we start about dissertation writing? Well, dissertation in general has, hold on, let's find a good resource. So let's go here and research master dissertation. Let's find a good example. And example. This is from Leeds, University of Leeds. You have University of Nottingham. There's loads of resources. In Oxford, we do give students our own resource of dissertation, example dissertations from previous students. But you don't have to rely on that. There's loads of other examples. Most universities, they have their own dissertation examples. And this is a good place to start. So you start by looking at somebody else who has done a very similar research dissertation to yours because the topics are slightly related. So if you have a topic on how to create a blockchain layer 2, obviously you want to see how somebody else has structured it before. And with most of those, you can even see the mark. So here in the library that we have in Oxford for dissertations, you don't always get to see the exact mark. We might tell you the category, so 60s, 70s, 80s, but we might not tell you exactly if it's 66 or 68. And those marks are important because when you read that dissertation, you see this mark 68, that means it's good, but it's just short of 70. And 70 puts you in a different bracket, different category. So when you read that, you will read it with an analytical mindset to find out what did he do wrong, and you try not to repeat the same mistake. But as you can see here, there's loads and loads and loads of dissertations on various different topics. From this one was on international business. Now here we have on lifelong learning, chemical processing, and engineering school of computer science. So this is where uh, we would be looking mostly, and they have an example here, list of examples. I imagine you have to log in, you have to be a student, but there's loads that they're open and free, so you don't have to rely on this source. but this is as simple as typing research master dissertation example. And now let's go to Nottingham. You can find loads of dissertations, and here you can see the PDF link, which means that this one should be openable. So there you are, it's open, and you can see how this student has written his dissertation. These examples are good not only to give you an example how you can write your work, but also you can see the quality that is expected from a master dissertation, because most students, they don't really understand that this needs to be a good piece of work. It's not something that you can do over a few hours before you go out for dinner. Like it needs to have a structure. There's one student, but I don't see any questions. So unless I see any questions, I'm gonna stop at a quarter. I'm gonna wait for this timer to come to 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna stop. And now I'm gonna continue. This is a list of dissertations that I found in Nottingham, and it was quite easy to find them. But you can find here undergraduate and postgraduate dissertations, and you can see how they are different. That's a good resource. Now let's talk about master dissertation structure examples. And there's loads of examples on how to structure a dissertation. Clearly, in the Department of Computer Science, we provide you with a structure that somebody created in some professor, and it made sense to that person. And if it makes sense to you, then use it. If not, there's loads of resources on the internet that you can find, and in libraries, people have written how to structure a master dissertation. One common misperception that exists even in professors, that they're very high level professors, that computer science dissertations are somehow very different than, I don't know, engineering science dissertations. But fundamentally, they are not. Fundamentally, they are the same. They include a title, what you're trying to do, abstract, which is a summary. In the abstract, you would list everything. What is your aim, your objectives, your research methodology that has to be included in the abstract, your data analysis, how you're going to find the data to analyze, and your expected results. So that is in the abstract. It has to include that. Table of content is automatically generated by Microsoft Word if you use the heading system. So that's a good hint here. Use the tools that Microsoft Word provides. And most universities, they even give you this kind of a structure in terms of percentage, which we don't do in Oxford. But if you're looking at how much time you should allocate to each chapter, sometimes it's useful to have this percentage. Because if you spend too much time on the title and the introduction, you see that is marked very low compared to other things that there. So, for example, the literature review should take 30% of your time. And here I do hear a lot of the same thing. I had a discussion with a student recently that said that there is no literature on this topic. But be careful when you make that kind of claim, because if your assessor logs into the Web of Science and Google Scholar and Scopus and finds, 10 different uh, articles that are related to that work, maybe he would mark you down. So if you are saying that nobody else has done work on this before, that's the first problem, that maybe you haven't found it. And second, maybe you're setting yourself for something that is too much. Because if nobody has done work in that area, that's a PhD. In my opinion, master dissertation is just a reflection on the work that you've done throughout your course. So throughout, you do modules in master dissertations and undergrad dissertations, you learn something, and in your dissertation you apply that. That's all it is. It's a very simple task, and most people get very confused and they want to build something that nobody has built before. That might be a good topic to keep for your PhD. So in here in the body of literature, you need to review existing literature from Scopus, from Web of Science, from Google Scholar. So it has to be literature, academic literature. Um, in the other section here, in the data analysis in research methods, you can use non-academic literature, but then you have to find a method to analyze it. Because remember, if it's not reviewed, if it's not peer reviewed, anybody can write anything on the internet nowadays. So anybody can publish, an article. If it's not peer reviewed, it might be biased. So you need to have a method here that you would explain how you're going to mitigate that bias, and how you're going to, analyze it properly. And that usually includes research methodology, like case study is a famous research methodology, but there's various different ones, grounded theory, systematic review. So you have to choose a method. Then the results, this is where you do your actual analysis. Results usually means data analysis and results. That's what it means. Because you can't jump from a method to results straight away. You have to analyze. You have to apply this method that you have selected. You have to apply the method in order to get the results. Results that just won't appear magically. So this chapter here, 20%, actually it's data analysis and results. And discussion. Strangely, most people miss on the discussion. Discussion is when you use your own thinking to discuss the topics that you have studied, and you compare them with existing literature. Then you have the conclusion, which is again around 7%. My, I've been trained to think that introduction and conclusion should be 10% each, 10% of your time, but actually many people disagree with that, and they even put less time. What is interesting here is that students, they tend to put like 98% in the introduction and the title, and they don't realize that their mark is going to be like very low, because you're being awarded mark based on those things here, like literature review, methodology, data analysis and results, discussion. In terms of references, there's no actual marks associated, but if you use bad references, then this whole section here will collapse. So let's say you go and use references that they're not from accredited journal papers, and you read some opinionated papers, articles published by Mickey Mouse in the journal of Minnie Mouse, and obviously this the whole introduction, literature review methods, that is all gonna collapse. So references, although there is no specific mark, are extremely important. Appendices, you don't really have to include appendices. Appendices, usually students, they produce too much work that doesn't fit anywhere, so they try to fit it somewhere, fit it in the appendix. Now, um, let's see if there's any questions. If there's no questions, I think this is going to 15 minutes. Yeah, so we have two participants, but there's no questions. And if there's no questions, 15 minutes, I think it's enough. I'm gonna end it, and hopefully I'm gonna have more active engagement in the next one. Let's refresh just in case that, no, it's gonna reload the site. No, the chat is working. The chat is working. There's nobody asking. You don't have any questions. Okay, so hopefully I have explained how to start the process of writing a dissertation, and this is a very good introduction here. But how I found it, I typed in Google this: research master dissertation structure examples, and there's loads over here. So you're gonna find loads and loads and loads and loads of examples. You don't really have to rely on. By the way, this is for the University of Oxford. I work for the University of Oxford. This is me in case this is in case this recording goes live after a little while. So that's me. I teach on the professional master's program. So you can see what's my interest here, publications, and I have multiple YouTube channels. I have one on related to cryptocurrencies and blockchains. I have one more for educational purposes, and I have a third one on AI security. I don't upload every day. Maybe I upload once a month, even so, maybe even less. You can check my Google Scholar publications here. There's loads of papers. They're all open access. University of Oxford paid for those to be open access, and that's a book, but you can find it in the library. You don't have to spend money on it. What else? Yeah, here's my LinkedIn. You can add me on LinkedIn. I accept everybody. I'm not discriminating against anyone. So if you're interested in the type of work that I do, add me. Otherwise, we're gonna have a next chat session next Monday around the same time. And hopefully, we're gonna have more participants. I hope this was useful. Since there's no questions, I'm gonna go and drink my coffee, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.